In the village of Doma, there lived a young woman named Zainabu. She was the only daughter of Baba Musa, the finest baker in the region. If you passed through Doma in the early morning, before the sun had stretched its golden fingers over the land, you would smell the rich aroma of fresh bread rising from Baba Musa's bakery. It was a small, simple place, just a hut with a large clay oven, a wooden counter, and shelves stacked with loaves of all kinds. Baba Musa was known for two things: his skill in baking and his deep love for his daughter. Since the death of his wife, Zainabu had been his world. He taught her everything he knew about kneading dough, controlling the heat of the fire, and choosing the finest ingredients. She was a fast learner, and soon, the villagers said that her bread was even softer than her father's. But Zainabu was not just a baker. She was kind-hearted, hardworking, and generous. Whenever an elder came to the bakery with no money, she would secretly slip an extra loaf into their hands. If a child stood by the door, staring longingly at the golden buns, she would pretend to need help in the shop, paying them with warm bread instead of coins. One day, a traveler arrived in Doma. His name was Saidu. He was a tall, handsome young man with smooth words and a confident smile. He had come from the city, seeking opportunities. When he walked into Baba Musa's bakery for the first time, he watched Zainabu closely as she walked. She was not like the women he had met in the city. She was simple, yet there was something strong and graceful about her. Saidu began to visit the bakery every morning. At first, it was just to buy bread, but soon, he found reasons to stay longer. He would compliment Zainabu's baking, offer to carry bags of flour for her, and tell stories of the exciting life in the city. "Zainabu," he said one day, leaning against the wooden counter, "have you ever thought of leaving this village? There is so much more beyond these dusty roads. I can see you in a big bakery, selling bread to important people. You are too talented to stay here forever." Zainabu only smiled. She loved her village, but Saidu's words stirred something in her. Over time, Saidu won her heart. He spoke of love and dreams of building a future together. Baba Musa, however, was not easily convinced. He was an old man who had seen too much of the world. "Saidu," he said one evening, as the young man helped stack firewood, "a man's true character is not in his words but in his actions. If you want my blessing, show me that you can build, not just dream." Saidu assured him that he had great plans. He spoke of starting a business, perhaps even expanding the bakery. But he had no money, and so Zainabu, believing in him, used her savings to support his ideas. She bought him materials, helped him rent a small space, and worked longer hours at the bakery to cover the cost.
Months passed, and Saidu's small business began to grow. He started traveling to the city to make connections. At first, he wrote letters, telling Zainabu how much he missed her. Then the letters became less frequent. Then they stopped. Rumors spread in the village. Some said they had seen him in the city, dressed in fine clothes, walking with a wealthy merchant's daughter. Others whispered that he no longer spoke of Zainabu at all. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Baba Musa sat beside his daughter and sighed deeply. "My child," he said, "a tree with weak roots cannot withstand the wind." But Zainabu still hoped. She believed that Saidu would return, that he would keep his promises. And then, one morning, a woman from the next village arrived with news. Saidu was getting married to the merchant's daughter. The wedding was in 2 weeks. Zainabu's hands trembled as she kneaded the dough that day. Her father watched silently. He did not say, "I warned you," because a father's love does not take pleasure in being right. The night before Saidu's wedding, a storm came over Doma. The rain poured heavily, and the roads became rivers of mud. That same night, a figure appeared at the bakery door. It was Saidu. His clothes were soaked, and his face was lined with worry. "Zainabu," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "I made a mistake. I thought I wanted a different life, but I was wrong. I miss you. I miss the bakery. I miss home." Zainabu stood still. The fire from the oven cast a golden glow on her face, but her eyes were unreadable. "Saidu," she said finally, "home is not a place you return to only when you are lost." She turned back to her work, dusting flour off her hands. Baba Musa, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, got up, placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder, and nodded. Saidu opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. He had believed that love was something he could leave behind and pick up again whenever he pleased. But love, like bread, requires patience, care, and respect. And so, as the storm raged outside, Saito walked away, his heart heavier than his footsteps. The next morning, the village awoke to the familiar scent of fresh bread. Zainabu was at the bakery, just as she had always been. But this time, there was something different in the way she stood, taller, stronger, unshaken. Moral of the story is a person who does not value your sacrifices will never understand your worth. And just like bread, love must be nurtured. Once left to grow cold, it may never be the same again.